Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled The Patient, written by Old School Horror. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author. Like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 2, Anomalies. Norman Turner, one of the oldest employees of the hospital, was sitting in front of the monitors in the security guard's cubicle near the entrance. He mostly worked the night shifts. For a long time now, he was on duty almost every night. The hospital staff liked him. He was a kind man, however, spoke little. Working the night shifts helped him somewhat get rid of his nasty habit, looking at the bottom of the bottle way too much. In the past, Norman drank a lot, but he did that mainly after nightfall. Day drinking was not appealing to him for some reason. By working during the night, he could avoid the bottle. It worked out well so far. Sleepiness took over him, as usual, and his head drooped. But, unfortunately, as always, couldn't fall asleep far too long. His head jerked upward, as if waking from a nightmare. Norman looked at the monitors, and his eyes opened wide. The monitors were switching on and off randomly. A few seconds on, split second off, as if some kind of interference messing with them. As the fog cleared from his mind, Norman saw that there was only one monitor which was not presenting this anomaly. The camera was in the room where the new patient had been placed. It seemed to work well. He focused on that one, but everything looked alright. The patient was sleeping, without a doubt. He kept checking the monitors to see if he could spot a clue about what was going on. Norman reached out with one thin, wrinkled hand to the control panel. He tried to figure out if there is some problem with the signals coming from the cameras, but without success. In the blink of an eye, the monitors went blank. Norman's mouth dropped.
Come on. What the hell's wrong with you?
He kept fumbling with the various buttons and switches, but nothing happened. Then, just as they went blank, the monitors came back again.
God damn it.
His eyes remained glued to the monitor, showing the new patient's room. The hairs on his back stood up, and he felt shivers crisscrossing his fragile spine. He suddenly felt the urge to have a drink. The patient was not sleeping anymore. He looked like he was levitating in the air above his bed. His hands were flailing in the air, his legs too, but not to that extent. The patient's mouth was moving, but Norman could not hear nothing, because the surveillance equipment was registering only video and no sound. A strange wave of interference pattern was visible on the monitors. It looked random, just like the previous shutting off of the monitors. But then he recognized the pattern. The monitors were not connected in order to the cameras in the hospital. It was a lousy job by the company who installed everything. Norman saw that the interference, which was appearing on the monitors every split second, had a behavior as if it had been emitting from the patient's room, and then propagated outward. The electrical equipment registered it somehow, beginning with the closest one, in the patient's room, and then finishing with the ones outside, and the one in the morgue. He didn't quite understand how he figured this out while watching the old man levitating in the air. It was more likely an intuitive thing than any logical deduction. After waking up from his dumbfounded state, Norman Turner dashed out from his cubicle and hurried to the front desk where Nurse Holloway was taking a sip from her awful tasting coffee. Norman felt the smell of the drink when he reached the desk, but quickly forgot about it. He tried to tell the nurse what he saw, but what came out his mouth was more like blabbing. Carrie understood only that there was something wrong with the new patient. He didn't wonder, he somehow expected it. With a quick jerk, he stood up, then saw Dr. Newman come back from another patient to the front desk. "What's wrong?" he asked, and he saw security guard's pale face and the urgency in Carrie's movements. "Something's wrong with the new patient." "All right, let's check on him. What did you see, Norman?"
I don't know. I can't explain it.
But when he finished the sentence, the doctor was already opening the door to the patient's room. Carrie was right behind them, heart beating fast, breathing heavy. Her guts were turning unusually. She felt as if fear itself had gripped them with a vice and began twisting them around. Soon, Norman followed. The doctor switched on the light and saw that the room was a mess. Everything, which was not too heavy, was laying scattered around the place. The patient was lying on the bed, the sheet thrown aside violently. They went closer, but their movement was slow, cautious. At a closer inspection, they saw that the man was most likely dead. His mouth remained open as if he had been trying to speak or scream. He lay there, his legs spread, the hands thrown outward, empty gaze staring at the ceiling. How the hell could he have moved? "How much sedative did you give him?" he asked, looking at Carrie, who looked back at him. "Enough. I gave him more than usual, after I saw that he was getting violent." He couldn't finish, however, because Norman's raspy scream interrupted them. When the doctor and Carrie looked back at the patient, they saw him standing upright in his bed. With eyes as white as chalk, he was staring at them. The lights flickered a few times. Carrie fainted. Norman fell on his ass with his back to the wall near the door. Dr. Newman's legs felt like jelly. The folder he was holding in one hand fell to the floor. The body of the patient went limp again and fell back onto the bed. With quick breaths and a racing mind, Dr. Newman tried to gather himself. He swallowed, but there was nothing to swallow. When he saw that the body is not moving anymore, he went closer. The man indeed looked dead. He was pale and motionless. The doctor shook his head and slowly inched his way closer to the body. He cautiously reached out to touch the patient's neck in order to be sure that he's dead. Norman was watching from where he fell. Couldn't move. He knew that he had to help Carrie, but couldn't gather the courage to get up. Norman was staring as Dr. Newman reached out to the dead man, who just stood up about a minute ago. Dr. Newman's fingers touched the patient's neck. With trembling fingers and a dry mouth, he felt for the jugular. There was no pulse, however. The body also felt cold. He sighed in relief, but the anxiety and fear he was feeling did not fade completely. What the hell was that? I don't know. It must have been some post-mortem muscle spasm or something like that. Shit. I thought I shit myself. I've seen nothing like that. Me neither, Carrie. Carrie? Can you hear me? He said, already kneeling beside the nurse, and put his hands on her face. She opened her eyes and shook her head when she realized that the doctor had touched her. Carrie immediately looked towards the bed, and when she saw that the patient was not moving, she let out a long sigh of relief. Is he dead? Yes, definitely, said Dr. Newman, and offered her his hand. Must have been only some post-mortem muscle contractions. Nurse Holloway ignored the gesture and got to her feet on her own. Norman stood up too, then threw one more weary look at the body. Thank God, Carrie replied. Alright, need to take this one to the morgue. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the end of chapter 2.